Hey, good morning. It's Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy morning show on Saturday morning. We're going to test this out and see how it goes. We did this unannounced and it's unscheduled, but I wanted to get in here on Saturday mornings, giving us 6 shows a week when we're not quite as in a rush because of scheduling, and able to deliver more to the viewers, readers, and create more content over time and have a little bit more time to answer questions on Saturday mornings. So who are we? And it's Bunny and I, and we cover on this show game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And there's Bunny in our comment section. And she's here in spirit, really. And she and I on Thursday mornings are together for about an hour, where we're answering questions and going over certain topics and looking at what's on the timeline. But it's always good to have 2 brains working on a subject than just one. And we fall under the red pill umbrella, which means like MGTOW and men's rights activists, and all of the intersectional dynamics, be it economic, psychological, sociological, and the war of the sexes at the end of the day, which is a phrase that you don't hear as much anymore, but it's still very relevant. But when you come to our timeline, her or I, we want you to have actionable, tactical, usable, on-the-ground information that you can apply that day to help you move a girl from complete stranger to naked and in your bed, enthusiastically in your bed, that same day, all the way up to reigniting the spark in a 20 or 30-year marriage that has maybe lost a little bit of its luster. And Bunny's an expert at that, a very difficult specialty to deal with. But let's look at the timeline, get this party started. If you have any questions, by all means, ask them in the comments section on YouTube. If you tap it into Twitter, I can't see it. So, hang on. We're going to have a little bit of there we go. Just hang on one second. I got to get to the maximum. I did so much right today, but quite imperfect. And I almost never have to scroll this thing live with you guys, but we'll get to maximum. Somehow I jacked that up. Let us begin. Maxim number 49. Waving a roll of Benjamins at a woman will not give her the tingles. In fact, it will often do the opposite. A very common fallacy, a very, I would say like 80 or 90% of the regular Joes out there. You got to remember, we're a teeny tiny subset of the population. If it gives you any idea of how small guys that know game are, imagine less than 1% of the population exercises regularly. If you're running this game, you're probably in that less than 1%. And even less than 1% of that 1% understands what game is and has the ability to systematically, reliably, repeatedly move a girl from complete stranger to naked and in your bed with, let's say, 80 or 90% close rate, which is normal for a guy in our world. Again, it is a teeny tiny percentage. Most men think money is what does the job. If you have money, girls will come. And there are plenty of rich guys jacking off every day because they have no skill and they don't know how to start a skill. They don't know where, because again, it's a completely different set of skills. But waving a roll of Benjamins, and guys always think this, especially if they come into money and they haven't had a lot of luck with women. And I even saw a tweet, I think somebody put it in front of me the other day, where a girl says, guys that come into money will substitute or think that they're spending their way into a girl's attention is the way to go. But most girls, remember, what is the kiss of death? Being boring. And guys that don't develop their personality, don't develop their charisma, and believe that they can just buy their way into it are seen as boring. Sometimes they can get some traction. Money is kind of like height. It's kind of like being tall. It gets you in the door, but once you're in the door, you have to have some charisma, some game to stick around. Girls will entertain a wealthy guy for a little while, just like she'll entertain a guy who's 6'8". She'll give him a shot on height alone. And she'll do the same thing with money. And they're very comparable. They're a part of a total package. But if the guy shows up and he's boring, if he's one-dimensional, she's gone. Girls can replace guys just like guys can replace girls pretty readily. It's the rare guy that has money and charisma, or height and charisma. Very rare. And again, charisma alone, you can get a short, fat, kind of medium income guy, but with enough charisma, and he's closing anybody he wants to close. You see it every day. But just know, generally, when we talk about money in our world, what it does is it makes it easier to lead your life. It makes it easier to go places. It makes problems that would be problems. It solves lots of problems. In fact, we always talk about this, that I haven't had a problem in 30 years that more money can't solve. You know, everything from cancer to business ailment to friends and family in need. Money has solved every one of my problems. There's nothing that it can't solve. Very rare. I haven't ran into anything yet, and perhaps you will. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, but again, there's a place and a purpose for it. But generally, keeping women's attraction isn't one of them. It just simply makes your life as a player easier and gives you more opportunities. And you can go, it buys you time. But again, and guys, it's funny because there's, guys are always worried about gold diggers. I haven't seen it in a while. It kind of goes in cycles. But guys always worried about gold diggers. And, you have to look in the mirror and you're like, well, I work at Jiffy Lube and I've got 3 roommates and I like to smoke pot and I got a gambling problem. Your girl is not interested in your money. She likes being around you because maybe you're fun. You guys can do drugs together. She needs her car worked on. There's all kinds of things. I mean, you serve a purpose. Unemployed guys that got out of jail this morning are all walking out to a girl waiting for them with a car that he can drive, even if he doesn't have a license. Again, money will simply open up more doors and makes your life easier with the skills that you have. But true gold diggers are in a teeny tiny subset of the population. They tend to be Russian or Asian, and they tend to run in packs. Like a couple girls will already be over, and we have like a group in Dallas. And there's groups in almost every like major city where there's money. Of course, New York City, Miami, LA, Chicago, Dallas, Houston. But there's always girls that are already there, and then they bring their friends over and introduce them. But you're not in those environments. So girls that are truly looking for money, they're not going to see you. You're not even going to run into them. So you don't have to worry about that. And the girls that the money would motivate, and guys that do have money will be straight up about this. They're like, if a girl is interested in your money, it's not the type of girl that you would want in your life anyway. But it will tend to, if you do lead with spending, which is really what I should, because you can have it, but you don't have to spend it. If you lead with spending, it will generally turn them off. Girls kind of like don't want to feel like a prostitute. They don't want to feel like the paid help. They don't want to feel like a hooker. And a lot of that stuff all figures in. So again, if you don't spend it, it's as if, and this is an interesting thing for girls, if you don't spend money, it's as if you don't have it. So if you tend to save and you're frugal and you live a very lower or middle class lifestyle, no matter what type of income, that's how they see you. And that's what level you're at. Again, it's better to lead with some charisma, fitness, taking care of yourself, being a total package. And the money just makes your life easier. But if you lead with it, you're going to run into problems. They may let you in the door, but if you don't have any skills beyond that, then you're going to be in trouble. And that's what we try to convey, because you always see guys jumping in going, well, if I was richer, I'd do better. Or, girls only care about money. And again, it's a fail-safe. It's something where if you don't do well with girls, you can always go, well, I just don't have enough money. Instead of saying, my skills are bad, or I'm fat, or I really need to get my shit together and get out and start working this system. Again, it's something to project it onto for personal, failure. So maxim number 49, waving a roll of Benjamins at a woman will not give her the tingles. In fact, it will often do the opposite. Again, doesn't mean you shouldn't be pursuing money. It makes your life easier. It allows you to help others. It allows you to help yourself and gives you options. And it might even get you in the door sometimes, but in general, it will not attract and hold their attraction beyond the initial. So that's the real deal when it comes to maxim number 49. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Bakes online. Do you have content specifically on fear of cold approach? I do not. I am not, and most American guys are not cold. If we're talking about like standing on a street and stopping girls that are walking by, the US isn't really ideal or the prime. You should look for something like with Troy Francis, who's in London, but he also comes to the US. He'll go to like LA and Miami, and he kind of tours through the US at least once a year. But a guy like Troy Francis, who stops girls, usually international, on the street, and I think London is probably the strongest place because there's really no pedestrian traffic. Like where I live, it'll be 115 degrees in the shade today. Girls do not want to be stopped on the street and some Joe, no matter how charismatic, good looking, tall, whatever, it's just not going to work. In the US, it's not as effective. I do have a friend that is in Austin, and he says there's a group of like 4 or 5 guys there, but they tend to work a mall. So you kind of have to like know your area. But I don't have anything specifically on that. I've done loads of cold approach and had success, but I've taken a break for 6 months and feel this massive resistance and fear. And most of it, if you have to, and like I always start with guys online, is say hi to every girl you see, because you have the skills there. If you take a pickup artist, a true pickup artist, and like put him online, his skills are so good. He just closes. He'll have sex with 5, maybe 7 different girls in the first week. But for true pickup artists, like a guy who does cold approach and stops girls on the street, it's the chase. You can close girls. You can close them. You can do social circle game. You can do online dating. And you guys close at damn near 100% because your skills are so high. But I understand that the chase is the value for true pickup artists. It's the chase, not the sex. So I would suggest, as I would do with any guy that wants to increase the number of women that he's meeting, to say hi to every girl you see. And some guys freak out. Every girl that you find attractive. But if you find yourself saying hi to 1 or 2 girls a day, you need to like lower your standards. So you'll become more automatic. But I would suggest to you, you do this. You focus in on saying hi to every attractive girl you see very quickly. And I mean like within days, a week or two on the outside, you'll be back into your normal less than 3 seconds approach. It just works. And I've seen it work across the board with guys that are like, have no experience, but are open to that's how you start. Again, you're going to desensitize yourself. You almost know too much sometimes. You can know what goes bad. You can know, but again, I would just simply start by saying hi. And then with those that do reciprocate, you can start running full game. And I think you'll just walk into it. Really, it's just a matter of like getting you acclimated to opening your mouth every time you see a girl, because you're probably pretty good about it before you took a break. But again, this is normal. Anytime you're away from something, especially something as intense as on the street pickup, you have to desensitize yourself going back in. It's kind of like playing football. If you've taken a break for a couple of years, you forget how violent it is. And even the pads feel kind of weird at first. But after a couple of weeks in practice, you're back into the normal, you're comfortable, having a collision with other men. But that would be my suggestion. And I appreciate your question. And I appreciate Jimmy Dare, sir, I appreciate your contribution. If you guys have a question, I want to make sure everything. And if you guys like what you're seeing, I have more resources at fortworthplayboy.gumroad.com. And if you want to find Bunny's Fuck Like a Porn Star series, you can find that at myplayboysbunny.gumroad.com. And let's get to the next slide. Oh, let's get to one. There it is. Fort Worth Playboy. And this is something that I get pretty regularly. And it's usually from more advanced guys that should know better, but sometimes you have to be reminded. It'll be like, hey, Fort Worth Playboy, hey, I do XXX and XXX, and I fuck a lot of girls. Should I change it? And number one is no. If you're running game that's working, do not fuck with it. It's like guys that go, well, you know what? I've got this script and I pretty much follow it when I'm doing an online game. And it helps me really move her from like text to on the phone. And then I make a phone call and I talk to her and I set up the date and I've got like 100% show rate. And then they'll say, should I start using like voice message early? And I'm like, fuck no. No, don't change something that's working. And again, what guys will do is they might even miss one or two, because anytime you're dealing with women, these things go in cycles. It's like sports. It's like batting. You're going to have a couple days, weeks, sometimes where you're just not connecting with the ball. And there's going to be days and weeks where girls are just not breaking your way, but eventually they will. You don't change anything. If you've got a system that is successful with 3 or 4 girls, there's not that much variation with women. You stick with that system. You don't change it for the one girl that kind of like shoots off in the opposite direction. And you generally see this from more advanced guys. Like, we know when there's an aberration that kind of like goes off of the main, off of what you normally see. But what happens is newer guys will keep changing things off of the feedback of one girl. When the one girl is just like, she's got a boyfriend she's hiding, she's got a mental illness, she's on drugs, she's on her period. It could be anything causing her aberrant behavior, but now you're changing your entire system that is solid. So once you have a solid system, you don't mess with it. If you miss 10, 20, 30 girls in a row, at that point, yeah, the system needs to be tweaked, or something has gone massively wrong, or the entire market has changed. But it's very, very rare, so rare that you should not worry about it. If the vast majority of the time your system is working, just don't fuck with it. If you have to do something, make it into a more challenging game. If you must change something, work on a weak spot. Pursue better looking girls, different races. You can collect flags. Or one thing that I would do was try to see how few messages I could send to get them in front of me. And that's one thing that I've seen. Like there's a guy named 007 who's doing a lot of pickup in LA. And he's down to like 4 or 5 messages sometimes. And he's got their number and he's already got someplace set up. You know, you want to kind of like push yourself and see how little can you get away with. And, or some guys go, how big of an asshole can I be? And you will be amazed at how big of an asshole you can be. And the girls will stick around and show up. And you'll also be surprised at how few messages, once you kind of put it out there and you get the right vibe, that they'll meet up with you in 3 or 4 exchanges. Again, because it's so rare. They know a quality guy when he comes across, whether they can see you or not, it's even in the messaging. It's that important. It's that primal. But again, if you have a system that's worked 3, 4, 5 times, and then somebody doesn't react well with it, do not change the system. Just rack it up as a miss and keep on trucking. Again, guys usually start fucking things up because they start messing with their system that has been successful in the past, or the recent past, and they never get any traction because they're always changing stuff. So they really don't know what works. And again, if you must fuck with your system, start challenging yourself to collect flags, very specific. You can increase, the attractiveness of the girls that you're pursuing purposely, all kinds of things to keep it more interesting to you. And again, try to see how few messages or how fast you can move a girl from complete stranger to in your bed. Again, a lot of it will have to do with logistics and timing and luck, but you can push yourself to see how fast. And if it's too fast for her, that's okay. She's out the window. You go to the next girl. So just know that. Don't change what's working. Always a mistake. Let's go to the next slide. Ask Fort Worth Playboy, and this is a common question, how to deal with a girl who flakes. Hang on 1 second, if you will bear with me. I'm at the point where I don't know if I'm seeing anybody's messages. Okay, ask Fort Worth Playboy, forgive me. How to deal with a girl who flakes. Radio silence. You are unaffected and move on quickly, and you should. You cannot discipline, call out bad behavior on girls that are not invested in you. It is a waste of time, and it makes you look weak. If you want to re-engage her later, open with, hey, Flaky McFlakester, and wait for a reply. Girls are going to flake. It's part of their nature. The younger and the hotter they are, the higher their propensity for flaking. There's all kinds of indicators of who will flake the most. And it tends to go under 25 and the more attractive girls, because options and opportunity and skittishness, it's like hunting deer. They're like all over the place. So what do? Nothing. You will discover over time, well, one, it makes you mad. I get it. And you want to like set her straight or fix the problem or tell her what the deal is. But if you're not fucking a girl, they don't care what your opinion is. And all it will do by calling her out or trying to discipline her is it will confirm in her mind that you're a weird guy that needs to be avoided. She will confirm her own horrible behavior by your actions. Again, there's nothing you can do about it. It's part of the game. It's something you have to recognize as a player is going to happen. And you roll with it. And the hotter they are and the younger they are, the more often it's going to happen. Make no mistake, older women that don't have as much value on the market will still flake because they're women and they can't help it. They still think they're 18. Again, girls pretty much stop at 18 as far as mental development. But the deal is you cannot discipline them, and all it will do is confirm their suspicion that you're a guy that just doesn't get it. But on the upside, should you not react, you've got, a setup with a girl and she kind of disappears. A lot of times in the next 6 weeks to 6 months, they'll swing back around and they'll show back up. In 99% of the time, again, none of this is your fault why a girl flakes. It's an ex came back on the scene. Ex-boyfriend got out of jail. Baby's daddy showed back up. Ex-husband's back on the scene. Father of their children. Ex-boyfriend. Some guy that she dated for 3 years showed back up. Again, generally, it's someone who's been there before you that is come back on the scene, and she has to focus. And she sure as hell doesn't want him to have any inkling that she's fucking other guys, even though she is, or she's seeing more. So you're the low man on the totem pole. You're an unknown value and an unknown quantity. And she's got a guy that is a known quantity. She's not having to actually increase her numbers with him. So she's going to focus in. Sometimes there's other things. Sometimes kids get into trouble. Sometimes, they have to move. And I've had that where they move to go help family and come back. So, and again, there's usually a guy involved. And make no mistake, they're having sex with someone this entire time. It's not just they're out being Mother Teresa. But again, should they come back around, you just pick up where you left off. And I give it two schools of thought because some guys, they absolutely have to have the last word. And so if you want to tell her off when she swings back around, that's your prerogative. The thing is two schools. You don't really say anything. You don't say anything. You just pick up where you left off because you're a guy that just gets it and you're going to get laid. This guy has the satisfaction of knowing mentally he's satisfied. He got to tell her off, but these guys don't get laid as much. So you got to figure out which school you want to be in. And I generally went with this one and it seemed to work out for me, but I respect that the guys, there's some guys that they literally probably can't perform because their feelings are hurt and their ego is involved, which is just the way they're wired. So they have to tell her off at some point. And that's understandable. You just have to know which school you're in. So when they do swing back around, you know what you're going to do, what your options are. And on this side, you just pick up where you left off as if she never flaked in the first place. And eventually they'll tell you what was going on. I've never had a girl that didn't eventually go, oh, you know what? I want you to know I felt really bad about, and then they'll tell you that their ex-husband showed back on their doorstep or, they got back with their husband, just whatever was going on at the time. Again, when a girl flakes, it has absolutely nothing to do with you, what you did, anything at all. You cannot change your game because girls flake, because otherwise you'll always be changing your game. Again, if you absolutely have to, reach out, give them 4 to 6 weeks and just go, hey, Flaky McFlakester. I think I spelled that right. And it actually works better than you would believe if you haven't tested it out. It actually works pretty good. And they'll reply, and then you can hook up or, this is for people that want to hook up with girls. And again, it's just a lot of pickup or a lot of meeting women is timing. You got to kind of hit it at just the right time. Right after they've broken up with a guy, they're open to suggestion. You have to hit good timing. And a lot of times you might hit that Flaky McFlakester right after she's broken up with the boyfriend for the third time. It happens all the time. It's just a matter of timing. Again, if a girl flakes, it has nothing to do with you. When she comes back around, you decide what you want to do with her. You can't discipline her. She's going to be gone. This is part of it. But you have the satisfaction, or you can get laid more. Again, Flaky McFlakester works. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. It's pretty straightforward. Again, it happens to everybody. Nobody has 100% close rate. Oh, I wonder about this. Okay, so men get the wrong idea that showing any emotion, anger, is weak beta neediness. Do not let girls walk all over you while you fume inside. You're not an emotionless robot. It's if justifiably angered, a flash of anger aggression is appropriate. Girls are turned on by displays of raw power. Again, girls forget sometimes how much stronger you are. That's why I always tell guys, you know, tackle her onto the bed, pick her up, and throw her on the bed. Remind her every once in a while the vast disproportionate strength that you have. It's kind of fun and it turns them on. But again, especially with this stoicism, these guys are like, just nothing affects them. It actually affects them, but then they like internalize it. But again, don't get the wrong idea. And I want to keep this as light and as possible because this is a serious subject, and I'm not suggesting violence on a girl or towards a girl, but I'm saying that not ever showing anger and just being this unemotional robot is bad game. Men get the wrong idea that showing any emotion is weak beta neediness, and it's not. Again, there's a time for justifiable anger, and girls will clown you if she realizes, oh, he's one of those stoic guys. She'll do things that piss you off, and you know what you got to do? Because you're a stoic guy, you got to swallow it, and then you're just standing there like a dickhead. You know, this girl's doing everything wrong, and there's nothing you can do. You can show anger, you can make corrections. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you have skin in the game. But don't let girls walk all over you while you fume inside. You're not an emotionless robot. And again, a lot of these guys really buy into that stoicness because they've been like shit on so many times. They're like, okay, I can't ride this roller coaster anymore. And you can do it in a measured way, but justifiable anger or a flash of anger or aggression is appropriate. Girls are turned on by displays of power. Again, it's kind of like when girls will purposely start a fight. They haven't had enough drama in their lives that week, so they will stir up something, and they'll cause it on purpose just to get a rise, and they like the fighting, and then the after fight makeup sex. Again, it's not the after fight, it's the fighting that turns them on, and then you have sex. Again, there's a time and a place. And again, what I tell guys, if a girl doesn't have enough drama in her life, she will create it. So sometimes it's better for you to arrive with the drama. That way, it's kind of like a controlled explosion. It's like you have this thing that's unstable. So you go ahead and put it in a box and you blow it up. And then you can open the box and it's controlled. It doesn't, shatter everything else. The same thing with drama. Girls do not like a stable day-to-day. No, they don't like routine. They don't like the same thing every day. They want change, some type of aberrant behavior. And if you can't deliver that, they'll bring it themselves, and you don't have any control over when it arrives. So if you bring the drama to a certain measured extent, weekly, monthly, something a little bit more unpredictable, so much the better. That way she doesn't have to show up with it. Again, something like this, hand through the wall, throwing something across the room, never hurts when you're in an argument or when you're going head to head. And there's a couple things, I like Black Dragon. He has like a 20-second rule and using like soft nexting. A lot of these things are like non-confrontational. But again, every once in a while, little emotion does a body good, and you can have fun with it. And again, don't take it too seriously. Just know what it's there for. But one thing I have seen guys is they get clowned by these girls and actually by other guys when they go the stoic route and they can't let go of that character, because it is a character that they can't let go of it. And now they're getting clowned because she's doing it on purpose and there's no reaction and there's no alternative. So you got to always have the option of some aggression, and girls are turned on by displays of power. There's really no downside. Let's see what else we have for today. let's see where we go with this. I put this up and I can't even remember sometimes. She's putting her phone face down, hiding the screen, smiles when she receives a text, runs out of the room to answer a call. But you never ask any questions or have access to her phone because you don't want to appear weak, needy, or jealous. You're a dumbass. Here's the deal. We always say, if they ask for exclusivity, at what point, guys always go, well, at what point should I be able to see her phone? And yours has to be as available as hers, just FYI. Anytime at the point where she asks for exclusivity and you're agreeable to it, her phone becomes open and you have the passwords. This way, you don't have this box of dicks, this thing that can cause problems. And it's not so much that you want to catch her fucking up. What you want to do is prevent the fucking up from happening in the first place. Because at a certain point, girls have an opportunity to fuck up. And she knows that the likelihood of you noticing in her phone that she's talking to some guy, rando, is high because you have access to her phone. It will keep her from responding to that DM, that text, that call, that message. Again, it will shut things down before they get out of hand. Sometimes you might grab something, that's already like midstream and trouble's already brewing, but you can put it into it. Again, this is a girl that's asked a lot from you, exclusivity for you not to see other women, and she can trade access to that phone where, again, you don't want to catch her fucking another guy. You want to make these other guys never have a chance to be in the same room with her in the first place, simply by you being aware of what's going on. And you get better behavior and better acting girls when you have this. If she refuses, I'd say no exclusivity. It's part of the deal. Again, you don't have time to being worried or her having that type of unfettered access and being able to fuck you over. It's too much at risk. She can date somebody else that will let her, run around behind their back and be happy about it. But that's not you. So she wants exclusivity. That's the trade-off. That's the price. Again, guys go, oh, well, she wants to, she'll get a burn. You're projecting onto her the things that you would do to cheat. Most women are very lazy and they're not technically savvy. And it's just more, again, you want it to be more work than it's worth for her to fuck around and fuck things up for you. So make it harder for her to fuck up, but you need to have access to that phone. Again, that way you're never sitting there, what's going on, man? You're thinking, what the fuck is going on? Who the fuck is she talking to? And you can't ask because you'll look stupid. So instead, you're like, hey, hand me that phone. And then you go through the phone and find out what the fuck's going on. Again, it will prevent it from ever starting, is what I've discovered over time. And especially coaching these guys on, I don't have any problems now. So that's a real deal. She's putting her phone down, face down, smiling when she receives a text, running out of the room for a call. But you never ask questions to have access to her phone because you don't want to appear weak, needy, or jealous. Don't be a dumbass. If she requests exclusivity, you have access to the phone, and it's mutual too. So that keeps you from getting yourself into trouble too. Guys, I hope you've liked what you saw this morning. There's more on the timeline. If you want to financially support this channel, I think there's actually a donation button now on YouTube. And our products are at fortworthplayboy.gumroad.com and myplayboysbunny.gumroad.com. Buy something, invest in yourself, invest in your own development, and you'll see it return fourfold, fivefold. The more you know, the faster you go, and these girls will become much more easy. You can literally start predicting what they're going to say before they say it. It's that easy and fast over time. Again, I appreciate your time. Your time is very valuable. I appreciate everybody that's watched this morning, and I will see you Monday morning, 7 a.m., same spot. Have a great day.